Welcome to Gun Owners of America's State of the Second. I'm your host, Kailey, along with
John, and today we have John Bailey with Eotech. John, how are you today?
Good. Thanks for having me.
So, John, tell us a little bit about your backstory, a little bit how you got in with Eotech, and a little bit about the company real quick.
Yeah, so Eotech is not that old of a company, considering some of the really old, Remington brands and stuff like that. We're about 25 years old. We invented holographic technology for optics, essentially. It goes way back to the 50s, but back then you couldn't make anything small enough to fit a firearm platform. It was just huge. Lasers were huge. Everything was, but after a while, everything got scaled down. In the 90s, they were able to make something that could fit on a rifle, and that's kind of where the conception happened. In 1996, we made our first one. Bushnell helped us sell it because Eotech wasn't even a name at that time. Bushnell kind of put us on the map commercially, and then Socom kind of saw it, and they're like, damn, this could be really good on a gun. So we started exploring the military side of it, the law enforcement side of it. We still let Bushnell kind of carry the commercial side, and Socom basically gave us a contract to be their standardized 1X optic. And that's what kind of put Eotech on the map. We ruggedized the product, made it submersible to 66 feet, put a hood on it, basically met all their needs, and they were standardized on it, and they are the tip of the spear. And everybody down below that, law enforcement, government agencies, all of that, basically said, we want what they're using, and it just exploded after that. The other part, politically, is the sunset ban that Bill Clinton had in place. The ARs, just blossomed. Everything was just selling like crazy. So the fact that Socom blessed us, ARs were prolific. We went nuts. It was an incredible couple years. So that's where Eotech started. I started in 2003. So it was really kind of in the infancy stage of where the military started looking at us. I did every job imaginable there. I started as inside sales, so I kind of was the utility infielder guy for all of our sales guys. Did trade shows, all that stuff. Started the marketing department. We didn't have any marketing at all, so I kind of started that. Our customer service guy went to Iraq, so I started doing customer service to fill in for him, so I kind of got that aspect of it. I got promoted to sales for a period of time, so I had my own territory, so I learned the whole distribution network and all of that. And then I kind of focused more on the marketing side. I kind of walked away from the sales. And then my boss basically said, you should be a product manager. And if you know what a product manager is, half their brain has to be engineer-like and the other has to be marketing-like. And I didn't have that engineer-like brain. So I was the worst product manager you can possibly find. So because of that, I got promoted to marketing, and I oversaw all the product development. So I had product managers that worked for me, and they did all the engineering work, and I helped kind of formulate the roadmap and the future of the products. And now today I'm VP of marketing. So we have somebody that focuses just on product development. I just focus on marketing. So it's been 20 years with Eotech. It's kind of rare to have somebody in a position that long with one company. The industry, people bounce around a lot, but it's been great. And I've been able to kind of see every aspect of the business, from the consumer side on customer service to the sales side, all the dealers and distributors, to the marketing side, guys like you and the media and influencers and all that. So it really kind of gave me a well-rounded career, fun as heck. I mean, this industry is one of the best industries. It's just, people are awesome. So it's been a great run. 20 years into it, we've got a lot of new things happening. So we see a really positive future.
No, it's great. And you mentioned the Socom thing. Do you guys see any of the explosion from that and the growth from even the video game side, where a lot of people...
Yeah. Yep. It's the next generation. So there are a lot of old gamers, but and they all know our products, but it's amazing if you go to shows like NRA or consumer shows like that, how many families walk into our booth and the kids will go, that's my setup right there in Call of Duty or whatever it is, and those guys, they're using our stuff, and they understand, they see the benefit of using our stuff in video games, and so they're introduced to it pretty early, and we count on them to be the future of our sales.
No, that's great. And I wanted to, so that generation, do you see them coming up and getting more into this because of that, because of the video game side?
I think it's helping. Yeah. I think it's one of the few things that's helping. The phone's not helping much at all. The kids aren't getting outside very often, playing sports. Unfortunately, there's not enough public shooting facilities where kids can kind of get introduced to that. There are some good organizations that help that, but I think there's, social media and tablets and all that stuff is really kind of melting their brain a little bit. And they're not getting outside, being able to shoot, getting introduced to hunting, things like that get them outside and start using the products and the firearms and respecting the products, all that stuff.
Well, it's funny you bring up like the hunting side and things like that. We're seeing recently the Biden administration going after, youth programs and things like that. Do you see a spot where the industry can take in and pick up the funding for that for some of these schools and things?
Well, I'd like to see that. Yeah. I'm not sure how that gets done, but there's only so many government programs. And if the wrong administration is in there to defund some of those things, something has to come in and take that place. Industry would be great. There's some, a lot of big companies that make a lot of money on hunters. It'd be nice to have them along with a whole coalition that could, start creating programs to start focusing on those, the youth and even really anybody. I mean, your typical hunter is, a man in his 30s to 40s, and I think that's slowly declining. So to get them more involved in it, to have, point out access to land and firearms training, all of those things, you would bolster that. And then those people have kids and wives and all that stuff, and they would get into it. So, yeah, I mean, it would be great. How it gets done, I don't know. I'm not that smart, but it would be nice if the industry could help kind of start growing that the youth side and just firearm use and ownership more.
Yeah, I think there's definitely been a concerted attack through this administration, especially to target hunters. I mean, we've seen it with the lead ammo ban. We've seen it now with removing hunters' education from schools. There's just, it seems to be a very concerted effort because they know that is a huge group of people that get into the Second Amendment. It's kind of the gateway in many ways to people becoming lifelong gun owners. And so I think you're absolutely right. The more that we can do to support and we have a program at GOA called Second Amendment Hunters that's doing a lot to help fill in some of those gaps as well. But it's got to be a coalition.
Right. Yep. Agreed.
Now, on the optics side, what do you see as the biggest impact policy-wise on you guys? Because it's a little different. On the gun side, there's a lot of things going after it. Is there the same effect from your end?
Our business always lags from guns. So when there's those spikes, those fear, times where guns sales go crazy, our business stays kind of consistent for a while, and then it starts to spike. So we kind of lag. We follow how guns perform pretty much. There's really nothing that hurts us legislation-wise other than, if they ban an AR, that's where the majority of our optics are going. So we go where they go. So we struggle there. But we go on a lot of different platforms. So, if they're going after hunters, which is kind of ridiculous to me because most of them, not saying all of them, the AR is getting more and more popular every day in a hunting situation, but most of them are the bolt guns that your left wingers are okay with, right? So why would you go after a community that's pretty much using the platforms that they're somewhat okay with? I think it's really because they're afraid that those people will eventually get into the cool guns, so it's kind of ridiculous. But yeah, we kind of ride the wave of guns. Right now we're riding the wave of pistols because pistols are selling so well. People are buying them because of the crime and all that stuff. Everything's optics ready at this point. So our product, we make a pistol sight called the Influx that goes right on top of any optics ready pistol. So we're riding that wave, and it's just doing really, really well. But once they create some type of fear, it's going to go more. And if there's no fear, it goes, kind of steady. So it's a roller coaster.
How will, for example, the ATF's zero tolerance policy. We're seeing tons of gun stores get shut down for clerical errors. GOA currently has a lawsuit fighting the ATF on the zero tolerance policy. How does that and store closures affect you guys from like a distribution standpoint
it's
and
huge.
ultimately sales?
It's huge. We have one of our strengths is our distribution network. So we have, we're really everywhere. We have 7 to 10 wholesalers that sell our products to their dealer base, their brick and mortars, all of that stuff. We have direct dealers. So we sell direct to a whole network of dealers, brick and mortars. We have buy groups. That's a whole different dealer network. So there's all these dealers that prefer to buy in a particular way. We cater to all of that. So we sell to all of those. So we're really in a ton of brick and mortar stores. And if you're going to threaten to close those or restrict those, it puts a huge hurt on our distribution. We can, we sell to e-commerce and they can sell, through the website and stuff like that. And that's significant for us. But the key to our sales is really showing somebody how our site works. It's a holographic site. It's different than Red Dot. We count on those clerks, those sales clerks, those face-to-face opportunities to show the difference between our product and a Red Dot. And if you don't have those brick and mortar stores, you don't have that opportunity. People don't learn what our product does and how it's better than everything else, then we would suffer. So yeah, it's really important to us.
And I think that kind of brings up a different point in many ways is, the gun stores and ranges are where a lot of the first time gun owners come in. And most of them want, the best optic, the thing that's going to make them, the easiest to shoot and the most accurate as they kind of start their training. How does the new gun ownership and the influx, how do you kind of prepare for that from a business standpoint?
Yeah, so we have about 60 outside sales reps. So we use about 5 different groups across the country that have reps in every state, and those reps are responsible for their territory. So we have somebody in those stores doing face-to-face training. We're down the street from Palmetto State. Our rep was in there the other day and trained 30 guys on Eotech products. So keeping them all trained up and up to date on the products, the features, the benefits, all of that stuff is really critical because if they know it and they can talk about it comfortably, that's what they're going to lead with. If they don't know it, they're going to talk about something else. So training them and keeping them up to speed is really important. The other thing we do is we have a range program. So we actually provide optics to ranges, indoor, outdoor, whatever it is, where they put our optic on their range guns. So now you have somebody in the buying process wants to buy an AR or whatever it is, and they're out there shooting on the range with our optic. They're going to see how easy that is, and they're going to like it. They're going to see the success, and they're going to want to maybe buy that too. So a range program, getting that product in front of them, and a trained staff is really key for new gun owners and gun buyers.
As somebody who used to work behind the counter, the guys behind the counter are the lifeblood of the industry. As much as we don't see it,
Definitely.
they're the lifeblood, and they're the ones who's pushing, your product. So I applaud you guys for having that program and teaching them. I see a lot of companies just throw stuff at these guys. If they're not trained well, they're not going to push your product.
Yeah, and you have to overcome, there's a lot of, it's intimidating for a new gun owner or a potential gun owner, a new buyer to walk into a gun store. And if they are not personable, respectful, trained, knowledgeable, you're going to get that person to walk away. They're going to be frustrated, maybe not even pursue the purchase anymore. So it's really critical to get them up to speed and hopefully they can you can teach them how to teach consumers.
This episode of State of the Second is brought to you by Palmetto State Armory. For over 15 years, Americans have trusted Palmetto State Armory for all of their personal protective and hunting needs. Visit them at palmettostatearmory.com.
Now, with the AR pistol brace being attacked right now, what do you guys see on your end? Is that a big part of your sales being taken away because that's not an option more? Or
Yeah. It's just another platform that is not available to somebody. So in my mind, at this point, I think everybody's got an AR, a standard 16-inch barrel, collapsible stock AR. So the beauty of an AR is having all kinds of variations, right? It's barrel lengths and different, folding stocks, all that stuff. And if you take that away, nobody's going to want to do anything else. And, the last couple of years with COVID and the political stuff, people own tons of ARs. So there's no incentive to go buy a new gun if you don't have the variations that are out there, and the pistol brace and pistol setups and the barrel lengths and the handguard lengths, all of that stuff make you want to go buy a slightly different platform, and that's taking it away from us.
I think another thing that they're trying to do, and I know this gets brought up into Congress, almost every session now. Thankfully, it's not something that has been close to passage, but it is something that would affect the industry substantially, is the 1,000% excise tax.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pricing people out of their rights. Yep. If you take a $1,000 gun and all of a sudden, like it's as much as most people's first car,
right?
Like that's a huge jump. How would that affect if something like that were to happen?
Well, like I said earlier, we ride the wave of firearms, both pistols, rifles, ARs in particular. We ride that wave. So if they were to do that, yeah, it basically takes the potential to purchase something right out of the hands of probably your biggest customer, your common blue collar, type shooter. So it would be huge. And what's even probably bigger is that if they got away with that, they're never going to stop. They're going to go after ammo and magazines and optics, and they'll start taxing all of those things too, and they'll just tax you right out of it. So it would be a huge impact. Again, we would see it as a delayed lag, because if they did that, they probably wouldn't do it like this. So people would start buying under fear that you're going to get priced out of it, and then they would have naked guns that need optics, and then we would start seeing some sales. But there would be a point where it would fall off, because all of that is, all the rifles are all set up with optics and everything else. So yeah, it would hit us pretty hard.
A few weeks ago, I saw you on the Instagram talking about fakes.
Yep.
How much of that is impacting you? And it seems like it impacts the optics side of the industry more than it impacts the firearm side of the industry. Is this a really big deal for you guys? Do you have to worry about this?
Yeah, it's a big deal. A lot of it is because our trade dress is so recognizable, and we are on military platforms across LE and DOE, all those things. So, but it's a very identifiable trade dress. It's an Eotech when you see it. It's very easy to copy. They get better and better every day. I mean, it's really tough to see the difference unless you have a really good eye to it. So yeah, it's a really concerning thing for a couple of reasons. One, you have your customer that just doesn't go by it's too good to be true, so they go spend $200-$300 when they know in their mind that these things are $600-$700, but they just go buy one of those things, and now they're out $300, and that might put them to the point where now I can't afford the real thing, so it might discourage them from doing that. The biggest thing though is people that are relying on that rifle or AR pistol and that optic to save lives, themselves, defend themselves, or if law enforcement agencies are buying things, and if it's a copy or a counterfeit that's not going to perform when it needs to perform, that's really, really critical. And we try to block as much as we can. We've stopped with customs. We've had some where we stop shipments that come in. We've actually ceased and desist a lot of Chinese factories that are over there. But, it's like whack-a-mole. You stop one or two, and they have factories all over the place. They could just say, all right, you stop, you start. So it's really kind of never ending. But we're trying to do like the Instagram thing. We're trying to educate customers to know the differences, to be able to see the differences, and be educated before they go buy the product. And the most important one is it's too good to be true. If you're seeing it for $99 or $250, it's just not the case. So buyer beware for sure.
With optics and stuff, you kind of touched on it. You guys are hit the ebbs and flow of the industry and popularity, what do you think the next biggest trend is going to be? I know pistol optics are hot right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see anything else that's going to be like this big trend coming up here soon? Is it like more LPVOs, more?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of the same. There's not much better optic than a red dot or holographic sight on a pistol. It's just real on an AR or AR pistol. It's just really, really fast. Your target acquisition's quick. Your situation awareness is quick. So I struggle to see that kind of changing from a short range standpoint. And LPVOs are flying, and I think that will probably continue because most people, not saying all, but most people don't shoot 500, 600, 700 yards. They'll shoot to 300, 400 yards, and a 1-6 or a 1-8 will do everything you need to do there. But I think it's really around whether it's optical or digital. Everything right now is optical. So you're looking through glass and you're seeing reticle. Digital is more like a display. You're seeing a TV screen. And I think eventually technology is going to be there where you're going to have, you're going to basically be looking at a TV screen that has all kinds of data that can come in and really help you. Maybe it's ballistic data. Maybe it's troop data where you know where your other guys are. It could be all kinds of stuff. Right now, they're already putting in, compasses and potential round counters and things like that. So I think eventually it's going to be a digital thing, but I think it's going to be at that point right now. If digital goes down in some way, if it fails somehow, you can't look through anything. That's why optical works better, is that, if something goes down, I could flip up iron sights and still continue. Digital, you really can't do that. You're kind of stuck looking at a dead screen. So there's some hurdles, but I think digital technology, both optically, night vision, thermal, all that stuff is really kind of the future.
I think night vision right now is getting really popular, and I think that'd be cool to see that coming out. Especially the digital stuff it's different, but like you said, like once digital goes down, you're done for.
Well, and it takes a lot more power, so now you have more battery and things. They still have work to do to make it as good as the monologue type stuff. But I think that's eventually, they're going to get there. So it's just a matter of time. But until then, and maybe not even then, that might just be an incremental thing, a supplemental thing. I think red dot holographic stuff is still going to be the way to go for your majority of 100, 200 yard in type targets.
You mentioned like most people are shooting that 100, 200 yard range. Are we going to see, with everything going on, are you seeing any trends in going into more long range stuff too? Or
we did. So for a long time, I called us a one trick pony. We're a holographic sight. There's only so much you could do with that, different batteries, night vision compatibility, things like that. But there's only so much you could do there. We wanted to diversify our product line. So we came out, and our brand is strong. It's a high quality premier brand. So we decided to come out with a line of rifle scopes. LPVOs are really kind of the bread and butter of what we do. But we wanted a product line that supports the brand. The quality is equivalent to what else we make. So we came out with a Voodoo line of products, and it's got first focal, second focal plane assortment. We have 3 different first focal plane. LPVOs. We have a 1-6, a 1-8, and a 1-10. We have some long range stuff, a 5-25. That's just over 11 inches, so really compact, short system. We have 8-32 bench rest stuff. So we wanted to get into that so that we're not just an AR 100 yard and done type company. We wanted to kind of get into the hunting world, get into the long range tactical world. And we've done that. We've gotten a really good market share with our Voodoo line, and we're actually coming up with a secondary line going into 2024 that will be a little bit better priced for your common shooter, but still have a lot of the features and the durability, the performance of our standard Voodoo line. So yeah, we try to diversify everywhere we can.
So for those of you out there who don't know what it is, can you explain first and second focal plane real quick? Like a quick synopsis.
Yeah. I mean, really simply, it's really where the reticle is placed on the erector, whether it's front or back. The benefit is on a first focal plane, as you dial, the reticle stays at or basically grows with your target. So if you're using the subtensions for ballistic holds, that will be true all the way across your magnification range because the reticle will stay consistent with your target. Second focal plane, your reticle will always be really small and crisp. As you magnify, your target gets bigger, but your reticle stays the same size. So typically, not all the time, but hunters will want to use second focal plane because they want clean, easy, really crisp reticle on their target and just let their target grow. But tactically, when you don't have, when you do have unknown distances and things like that, you could use that reticle throughout the magnification range to measure and estimate size of target and distance and all that. So it really comes down to the platform and the application. Typically, like I say, second focal is hunters, recreational shooters, and first focal plane will be for longer range where it matters and, tactical stuff, snipers, things like that.
Yeah, I'm a big first focal plane fan. I love first focal plane, especially when shooting like 12 to 1,500 yards.
Oh, yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Are you a mill or MOA guy?
I've grown to become a mill guy, mainly because, we got into this stuff and I love it. Sorry. But I'm a hunter, so MOA is easier to do the math. And when, it's just inches, so it's really easy, but I like both. And I have them on, on my hunting guns, I have MOA. And then I have on all my long range tactical stuff, I have MRAD stuff. So once you understand it, you can go back and forth pretty easily.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to something we talked about in the first part of today's discussion, which is, the military and catering to the military. I know that there's a lot of push within Congress and just within the anti-gun left in general about banning weapons of war. Can you talk a little bit about how your optics differ between the civilian and the military and kind of how to combat if people are playing, Call of Duty and then they come and want, that set up, how you guys handle all of those critiques from the anti-gun left?
Yeah, well, our optics are available to everybody. So what the military buys, all of us can buy. So it really comes down to the features that the military are asking for. So it really doesn't compromise or restrict us from anything. If they were to do anything from military platforms, the first thing I think of is a big 50 BMG. They say, who needs that? I think everybody needs one of those, but that's such a small nichey thing. I don't think that's going to impact it, but the AR or M4, that kind of stuff certainly will. So, but our products there's nothing unique. There might be some odd requirements or like deeper submersion for military and things like that we don't offer to consumers. Cause what are you going to do if your gun goes to 66 feet in a lake? You're not going anywhere with it. Right. So, I don't need 66 feet, but they do because they dive with it. So there's very little. So I don't think we would get impacted too much with any type of restrictions from government stuff, but I totally think it's wrong.
So how does the culture play into what you guys are doing? Like, do you see anything on social media or any like shadow bans and how does the anti-guns left control of those kind of platforms impact you guys?
Honestly, we don't see too much of it. We have a really good follower base that is pretty loyal to us. I think because we're not a gun, we're not a firearm in general, we don't get really hit by too much of that stuff. But again, we follow all of that stuff. We lag behind all of that stuff. So if, and it's prevalent, I believe, and I talked to several friends that are, work for gun manufacturers and they're getting crushed by all of that stuff. And if they're getting crushed, that means it's impacting what they're trying to do. And if that's happening, then it's going to impact what we do. So it's always, we're always one step behind them, but anything that happens, and I believe it is happening, will impact us at one point, but we don't have a lot of that directly to us socially.
No, we just saw, I think this week, I've seen posts by Night Vision and Recoil and a couple other companies. They're getting that notification on
Saw
Instagram.
Recoil, yeah.
Which is weird because Recoil is a print, side. I don't get why they're getting hit, but
made me curious what it was that triggered that, because you're right. They're a kind of a traditional publication. I don't know of anything that they could have done that is really bad enough to warrant something like that. But it just tells you that maybe they're going after more, and they're getting more restrictive if they're going after somebody like Recoil.
Well, as a marketing person, do you see that if that trend keeps happening on social, are you going more towards print media, more traditional media, or is it just trying to get a combination of both?
Yeah, it's right now our trend is to still go more digital and social. We have a big follower that's kind of an older crowd, either traditional hunters or just 40 to 60-year-olds that have good equipment and they buy our stuff. I believe, because I'm not that far from that age, I believe that a lot of them still like to read magazines. So I still have a good mix of print to digital, but it is transitioning more to digital and social, because that's where a lot is happening. You can get in front of people quickly. Print takes a little bit of time. You don't really get to see the immediate return. Actually, you don't get to see a return on investment. You're hoping, you're crossing fingers. Digital and social, you could follow clicks, you could follow, the results of social and stuff like that. So we are kind of shifting that way, but we have a legacy group of people that really follow us. That's the older crowd that I think still requires and still wants that print side. So we still do quite a bit.
Now, you did mention that older crowd. Do you see the average gun buyer age and everything changing, that demographic completely over the last few years?
Yeah, I do. And it's a good sign. It still makes me a little concerned that that next group is not going to do it. I think your 25 to 36, 37-year-old is buying, but I just don't, they don't have the income as some others. So it might not be them buying my product. It could be buying a lesser quality AR and a lesser quality optic. And I'm okay with that, because eventually, and I think my brand and the perception, they want my stuff, and they want a good rifle like a Daniel Defense or something like that. They can't afford it right now, but the fact that they're buying something is only going to want them to want something better down the road. And I think they're going to eventually get into our stuff. So yeah, I am seeing that. I just hope that it translates to even the next generation.
Well, that brings up a good question for you is, you guys are at a higher price point. Do you guys see yourself getting into an entry level price point at some point, or is that just off the table?
Off the table.
Okay.
Yeah. For one, I say this every day and people laugh. It is extremely difficult to make the product that we make every day. We're masters at it, but it's still difficult to do, and it's made in the USA, made by American workers and all that stuff. So it costs a lot of money to make and to sell and to buy. But it's a reliable product, dependable, high performing. And if you kind of dumb things down, I think it kind of lessens your brand and the value of your brand. We could easily come out with a red dot. We did actually for a pistol, because you just can't make holographic sights that small. But why would we want to do something less than that? The market is big. People buy a lot of cheap red dots at $100 to $300, but that's not us. And I think it's more important to keep the position of the brand, the perception, the quality. And really, I think it's more aspirational. I love the fact that we'll post something on Instagram or something like that, and you'll read the comments and you'll see so many people say, someday I can't wait to have one of those things. And it's like, all right, that's why we're doing it. Because the guy might be buying that cheap stuff now because that's all he can have, and he's out there shooting, and I love it. But I know he wants our stuff someday, and he'll find the money to do it someday. So yeah, I don't want to water it down.
No, and I'm glad to hear you say that, because it is cool to see, and especially with the plug and play of the current products out there, specifically the AR-15. The plug and play of going from, hey, I may have bought a lesser quality rifle, but I can buy an aftermarket barrel and handguard and upgrade. That's what I love to see, because that brings us in the industry to go, cool, I can keep getting them these
Yeah.
parts to keep upgrading, and eventually everybody wants that, like you said, that setup from Call of Duty.
Yeah.
That would, do you guys see any impact from you guys are in Call of Duty, you're in video games. Do you see any impact from any like TV traditional media too, or that way, like movies and things? Do you see that as well?
Well, we benefit from that big time. I know a bunch of people at different prop houses across the country, and I send them as many products as I can, because they'll put our stuff on there, and that's just another point where people see and they go, oh, that's what I use, and so that if they're using it, and I'll go buy it. So yeah, we benefit from that. And again, it goes back to that whole trade dress. If you were to put a regular red dot on there, nobody knows what brand red dot is, what it is. But when you put ours on there, you just see that trade dress and you know immediately what it is. So we benefit quite a bit from it, and we support it. I try to get them as much product as I can. I'm giving them Voodoo stuff because you can see the difference there. And I think it's just it's a cool way to get your product out there. It's always on the good guys. I should say almost always on the good guys stuff. So that's helpful too. That helps with the brand too.
Forgive me, but what kind of dot is your pistol dot? Is it a closed emitter dot? Is it a...
No, it's a full size open emitter. It's top load battery. It's your 2032 battery. Really good adjusters to it. So it's full size. It's going to be holsterable, not concealable. Typically, it won't go on your compacts and your subcompacts. But it's really cool. What we did is we focused. You can't really do too much differently from those. So what we did, we wanted to kind of keep our holographic weapon sight window size. So our window is more rectangular. And then we really wanted to focus on the clarity of the glass. When we were talking with people, when we were trying to develop this product, one of the biggest issues that people had is there's a really red hue or blue hue. You don't see through the glass really well. So we wanted to have a really transparent glass, and we achieved that. So what you're seeing is basically your target and a dot, and you're ready to go. So wide field of view gets you on target faster and be able to see a little bit more. We have a really crisp 3 MOA dot or a 6 MOA dot, depending on what you buy. So it's just a really good product. It's affordable. It's less than some of the big names, but more than some of the cheap stuff. So I think it's positioned well. It's a good product, good reliable product. Sits on a Delta Point Pro footprint. But now every pistol is pretty much coming with every plate, so you don't have to buy your gun specific to the platform anymore. So it's doing really well for us.
Are you guys looking into doing closed emitter stuff too?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's being worked on right now.
I wasn't a fan at first, but now I'm a really big fan of that closed emitter stuff. It looks like there's a mailbox on the top of your pistol, and it makes me laugh every time. But it just, the clarity, being that it's a standard emitter, and I know with the holographics a little bit different. How do you guys combat the stigmatism and the multiple dot seeing and things like that?
Yeah. So holographically, it's totally different answer than the red dot, but it's that's one of the benefits of the holographic sight. So we're stepping away from the pistol sights, but it's really just it's a focus. It's how good your LED is. It's how you focus it, and then really it is a lot of that glass. If you have the coatings on there that are really designed to kind of bounce that dot back to you, it's going to create distortions and things like that. So our clarity of glass helps create a really crisp dot. The focus point, just design. There's all kinds of things you could do. Holographically, totally different. We're able to capture the reticle totally different. We could focus it at the distance of your target, so it's always in focus when your target's in focus. So it's just optical science that is way above my my ability to speak.
And literally, because we reach a wide audience. What is the benefit of a holographic verse? a standard red dot?
There's a ton. I'll start with the only negative is battery life. Ours is powered by a laser as opposed to an LED. LEDs just don't take that much power. Ours lasers needed to run it, but even then, we get 2,000 hours of use, and it's got an auto shut off. So that's months of time. So it's really not a hindrance at all. But if you're talking to people that want to know the advantages and disadvantages, that's the only disadvantage. The advantage, though, is heads-up display. The reticle, using a laser and holographic technology, we have the smallest dot in the industry. We say it's a 1 MOA dot. It's physically even smaller than that, but our eyes can't perceive it smaller than 1 MOA. So we're able to have that heads-up display, that ring around there to get you on a target really, really quick, but a dot that's so small you could still shoot to 200, 300, 400 yards. At 400 yards, you're covering 4 inches of your target. So at 1x, it's still really, really good compared to a red dot that might have a 2 or a 4 MOA dot. 4 MOA at 40 or 400 yards is 16 inches. That's covering, the whole chest of a target. So we could be more accurate at distance. We're faster than anything else. We have more brightness settings than anybody else. We have 10 night vision settings if you have a night vision device to go behind it. It's parallax free, which is kind of it's just now the right terminology. People use parallax free, but our system, because we use flat glass, there's virtually no parallax. Whereas a red dot that uses like a concave or a rounded lens, they use that to collimate that LED light. There's a ton of parallax there. So if you do this while looking, your dot is moving back and forth on your target. So you could really be anywhere in the window and still take a shot that is going to hit. So there's a ton of different advantages, but I think it's really speed and uncompromising distance.
Now, how do you, with upgrading battery technology and things like that, is there a way to combat that so you can get longer battery life, or is it?
Yeah, it's really efficiencies of our production. Basically, the way that we capture the reticle in the image. If you can do that more efficiently, it doesn't require as much to power to basically brighten that up. It's not going to be in waves of hours, though. It is limited to a laser. So that might help. I mean, later on, those could get better. We're working on technologies that don't require a laser. And if that's the case, that could totally change our whole platform.
You did mention that you guys are at the ebbs and flows of the industry and things that are popular. You're playing catch up. Have you seen anything recently where you're like, yeah, that's not going to last long, or hey, we're going to come out with this product, but we're worried that something might not work out or something like that?
No, I would actually say the opposite is that closed emitter. We came out with the one and we had closed emitter on our mind. But at the time it just it was for professional use and some people were using it. It just wasn't that popular. And now it seems to be growing really quickly. So it's just like I said, the opposite. We didn't see something and go, that's never going to work. We saw something that's like, damn, we probably should have been a little faster on this because we didn't anticipate it kind of growing and getting interest as fast. So it's one of those things that now you got to kind of do catch up. So yeah, I don't know of any. And the other thing that's growing that I'm surprised on is lever guns, man.
Oh yeah.
Oh, lever guns are going crazy, and some of them are so tricked out and cool that. If you'd have said lever guns are going to be popular like a year ago, I'd say you're crazy. No way. And they're going crazy right now.
Well, are we seeing a trend towards more, like we're seeing a lot of companies do like the tricked out lever guns and a lot more companies coming out with bolt guns. Are we seeing that trend to start going towards more of the mechanical side than the semi-auto side?
I think you are. Yeah, I think you're seeing, I think the caveat has to be cool. I mean, there's some really cool traditional lever guns that everybody should probably have, and it'd be nice to put over the fireplace and bring out every once in a while. But when you start adding, the tactical rails and all of that stuff to it, Q makes the mini fix and the fix a cool alternative bolt action gun that is just modular and really kick ass, and when you do that, it now makes you go, you know what? I never wanted a bolt gun, but that is really cool. So I think that's the caveat is you can make traditional stuff, but it has to be super cool, cool barrels, proof barrels, and cool Cerakoting, and, just updated to, our times as opposed to, the crusty old guys.
I mean, you don't want your daddy's 30-06?
Not really. No, I'll take it, but I'm never going to bring it out of the safe. Yeah, unless there's a way to kind of make it cool.
Would you guys do like a lever gun specific optic?
Yeah, I would love to. It's on lever guns. The beauty is those are typically brush guns. They're close. There's nothing that's going to really shoot far and accurate. They're they're at 9mm and 44 and 45-70, things that are going to go through trees and stuff like that. So our holographic sight is just amazing on it because you're not relying on a long distance. You just want to bring that thing up fast and still have accuracy. So we could definitely do anything. The other beauty of our product is we can make any reticle pattern that we want. So if there's some ballistics unique to let's just say 45-70, we can actually create a reticle that provides dots that are specific to that rifle or that caliber specific platform. So we do that right now for 300 Blackout. We have a 2-dot system, and the first dot is for 50 and 150 yards, depending on whether it's subsonic or supersonic, and then different if you shoot supersonic. So we can do unique reticles. So it would be really cool to do something specific for a lever gun.
You brought up Q and 300 Blackout, which means I have to bring up 8.6 Blackout. What's your thoughts?
I love the idea. I'm seeing Kevin going to Africa and shooting enormous animals with that. So it's looking like it's going to be a really, really cool caliber, that can do everything, and extremely short barrel. So that's kind of that cool factor. It's the mobility thing. I can pack that thing anywhere I want. I can reliably shoot big game. I think it's going to be really, really cool. That's another one that, that's as it gets more popular, that could be something we make a unique reticle to.
I'd love to see when cool things like that. We've seen over the last 5 to 10 years, a lot of new calibers come out that kind of like pop up and then disappear. I think 8.6 Blackout might hold on.
Yeah, that's the tough part is, attaching to that caliber too early. You've in 224 Valkyrie is still out there, but it's not, like a common caliber anymore. But you almost have to kind of sit back and see how, if the credibility is there and if it works, and other companies, ammo companies and all that kind of get on board with it before you could really before we can do anything with it. So it's kind of a sit and wait. But that 8.6 is, I think it's one of the most promising new rounds that we've seen in a long time. And I think it's backed by, Kevin is a brilliant guy, knows his ballistics. He's got ammo companies that are supporting him and providing information. So I think it's going to do really, really well.
I think so as well. I mean, you mentioned 224 Valkyrie. There's also 6mm arc and all them that came up and kind of went. We'll wrap it up here. We're almost at an hour. So, do you see any trends other, we talked about the lever guns and the bolt guns, any other trends coming up in the industry that you think are going to take off or we're leaning towards in the upcoming year?
No, I think we talked about them. I think it's innovation on existing things, just making things function better, make them cooler. Optically, I wish there's something that is going to reinvigorate everything, but I think it's making things more efficient, perform better, run longer. I don't see, the only trend that I hope to see is stability in the industry. everybody benefits from the fear buying and all that when it spikes up and all that, but you also suffer because you can't manage supply chain, you can't manage inventory, you can't manage dealers who fear buy, and then when there's really not much fear anymore, they're sitting on inventory and they can't get rid of it, and then so it really disrupts the industry from a manufacturing standpoint. So I hope that there's some stability to things, and a lot of that is going to come down to how the legislation is fought and what comes up, and how we can kind of squash that stuff. And so I'm hoping that happens, and businesses kind of just trends upward without much of that volatility.
Well, and we had and for people who don't know, the industry historically, we have this what we call the summertime slump.
Yep.
We always have that. Historically, that it's always, July to August, end of August, then we get into hunting season, things pick back up. We had the last 2 years, there was no quote unquote summertime slump. So
Right.
we're now, we're seeing that, and that stability would be great for the growth of the industry across the board.
Yeah. And it was, we've done pretty well. We didn't really see much of that slump until July. So May and June were still pretty good for us. But we're starting to see confidence in dealers. We're starting to see them start buying for Q3, Q4, and the holiday season and all that. So I think things are rounding just like they typically do. But you're right, we didn't see that the last 2 years. So I think the dealers were really hesitant on buying during this slump because they didn't know if it's going to come out. It's all new to us at this point because the last 2 years were such a shakeup that I think they're just hesitant, but they seem confident that everything's coming back, and we're starting to see some sales for that Q3, Q4 push.
Cool. Well, let's go ahead and get this wrapped up. John, any cool things coming from Eotech? Anything you can talk about coming up? I know we've got SHOT Show here in a couple months. We're coming up towards that Q4, Q3 kind of thing.
Yeah. So we have a new line of rifle scopes that are off of the Voodoo line. I think I mentioned it a little earlier. So we have a couple new scopes there. The one that we introduced, the OGL, it's the on-gun laser at SHOT Show. We weren't really prepared to start producing it, but we didn't want to lose the opportunity to show that at SHOT Show. But we're getting closer to production of that. That'll probably happen in Q4. So really everything that we post on social, it could be Happy Father's Day. Everybody's like, where's the OGL? Where's the OGL? So hopefully we'll be starting to deliver that. And then we're also working on the commercial version of that consumers can buy. So people will be excited about that. That'll be later in the year or in 2024. So yeah, there's some fun stuff. We're excited for 2024. I think it's going to be a good year, and it's the election year, so you just don't know what to expect. Hopefully it's kind of consistent.
Where can people find you guys?
Yeah, if you want to check us out on the web, we're at eotechinc.com. But really, you just type it in Google, and there are 500 dealers. There are, like I mentioned earlier, there's buy groups. Everybody sells our product. We don't discriminate to anybody. We're in big box stores, and those big box stores buy it at the same price as the little brick and mortar guys. So we're fair to everybody, and that's what I think they like. Our brand attracts people. So yeah, we're really everywhere. If you want more information, just check us out on the web.
And where can they find you on Instagram and stuff?
It's at Eotech Inc., I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Cool.
might have to dub that out.
Well, thank you for coming on, and we really appreciated hearing everything that you had to say, and are excited for everything to come.
Well, I'm happy to be here, and I really appreciate what you guys do. And if we could spread the word any way we can and help you guys out, I'd love to.
Awesome.
Keep up the good work.
Well, guys, thank you for listening, and have a great rest of your day.